Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We are Travis Kelce days away from NFL season. I wish I had come up with a different name, though, because he gets enough attention. Everybody, put your favorite number 87 in the chat if you could. Hello, Chris Kish. Hello, Liddy. Rick Funcannon is here. Brad Morris, Richard Pierre. Thank you, everybody, for being in here. Hit the like button if you could. Let's see if we like the recap screen. Well, Mondays was 9-3. Tuesdays, 2-2-1. Mike McClure loses his first period under, I think, with about a couple of minutes left in the first period. Larry Hartstein, they had a lead late. The Cardinals had a lead late, but they kind of blew it, lost 5-4 in extras. Buckets hits his pick. My Dodgers first five, crazy first five there. We end up pushing, and the SportsLine picks, courtesy of Prop Bet Guy, that one comes in, the Merrill Kelly over strikeouts. It's a big baseball day. We got some NBA finals to talk about, and really anything you want to talk about in the chat. That is open season. Let's bring in the stars of the show. Like I said, it's a pretty big baseball day. We got three baseball guys in here. I think two of them, actually three of them, including me, are going to talk some baseball, a little bit of golf, a little bit of basketball. Hey, Max, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm already searching the chat for some questions. We don't have any day baseball today, but certainly a nice full slate after the abbreviated one last night.
Professional tees in transition, Amags, because tomorrow, I believe at 12:55, you can join us at 1 if you want, but at 12:55, we're going live for our MLB live stream. I'm not even 100% sure. I think Ben will probably tell me in a few minutes, or remind me, I should say, who exactly is on that show, but it'll definitely be a lot of the cast. I know Snyper and Amags are going to be on that one. I think Zach is missing this one, but we're going to have a pretty full crew in here. So again, tomorrow we got a lot of day baseball, two games that start around 12:30, one game that starts at 12:30, two at 1:05, two at 2. We're going to be with you throughout most of that into like probably the 2:30 hour. So very excited about that. Sniper, you got to be excited about that too.
Very much so. I have to sneak out for a second in the middle of it.
Perfect. That's all good.
I have to talk to Joe Mauer on the phone. You know, one of those burdens. So I'll be back. I'll be back after that. Anyway, I just wanted to say happy Musin Muhammad days until the NFL season.
If we only had a broom to sweep up all these names that Sniper is dropping. Joe Mauer, that's good stuff. Zach, how you doing today? Again, I don't think you're going to be on the baseball live stream with us tomorrow. You got NBA finals to talk about tonight. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm actually going to start off talking about baseball because yesterday was one of the craziest days on the MLB slate. 5 of the 9 games went to extra innings, and I actually did some live action on Seattle before the top of the ninth, plus 4.5 runs, plus 255, and I'm like, oh, this is over. But Justin Martinez, he gets hurt with 2 outs. They throw in another reliever, and all of a sudden, Seattle had 0 runs. They score 4 runs to tie it and go into extras, and then they lose on a Josh Naylor grand slam. So got the cash, but it was just a wild day in baseball.
It was. Good thing you had the 4.5, right? What an ending. Jeez.
I know, it was crazy.
I will say
for 1 run to catch that in the 9th and call it a day, but
yep.
Extra innings.
If you had the Dodgers first 5 with me, that was an extremely frustrating watch. I mean, obviously Dustin May was not good at all, but you know, I had sort of predicted the regression of Pivetta, and that came through. But just the back and forth there, where I thought I had it, and then it was taken, and then I thought I had it. We end up with the push. Crazy game. Baseball. It's a crazy sport. By the way, tomorrow it's going to be me and Sniper and Amags, Mike McClure and Tom Casale. That is going to be really, really fun. Very much looking forward to that. All right. Speaking of baseball, Amags, let's get started. We've got a couple of, well, I should say 1 prop and 1 team total that you like. And that's interesting because it correlates a lot with a baseball play I'm going to give out later.
Yeah, and I will jump to that team total second, but let's get a hitter prop out of the way first. And I would urge you to look at the weather out there today because there's a ton of really good hitting weather, one of which comes with this Phillies team. And I saw Danny Brasco already in the chat saying, what is that hat? As a New York fan, you know, a Yankees fan, I don't mind wearing the Phillies hat, but I do see maybe some other New Yorkers wouldn't feel as, the same way. Certainly the Eagles are not a team that I like to root for, but we are going with a Phillies player. And I was looking at the team total against Colin Ray here, but you're on the away team. You're missing, you're on the home team, not the away. You're missing Bryce Harper. A little bit tough for me to get to the team total there. So I'm looking at one of the lefties in this lineup against Ray that I think has to do damage if they're going to hit that team total. So let's just bet the over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs for Kyle Schwarber, a guy who projects to go well over 2 in terms of the projections on hit, run, and RBI. And it's Colin Ray with the 314 average allowed to left-handers, the 5 home runs in 30 innings to lefties, the 1.6 whip. I mean, I could keep going on, but I do not like the way that this looks, especially in the underlying metrics against lefties. The secondary pitches all have expected stats that are worse than the real stats. And then you get to the fastball that he throws over half the time to left-handed batters. That's not doing well either. I think tonight Schwarber hits one of those fastballs out of the stadium, especially with that weather there in Philly. It looks like it's really going to help some of those hitters. Now, Sia, let's get to that team total and the Tampa Bay Rays once again in Boston. I'm going to fade Lucas Giolito. Look, last 6 starts or so, he's had 3 that were good and 3 that were absolutely dismal, at least 6 earned runs allowed, especially last time he couldn't even finish 2 innings. I think once again, the weather should be, rather advantageous for hitting here. I just don't like the spot for Giolito against a pretty scrappy Rays lineup. They also are going to, throw a bunch of lefties in there. And I think that mix right there is just not really one that should be good for Giolito. Now, even if he does somehow get through the first 5, 6, 7 innings even and pitch well, I also just don't really trust this Red Sox bullpen that's been pretty taxed over the last few days. And, at some point, I think the Rays hitters here will, scrap through a few runs and maybe it's 2 runs late or something like that, but we get the away team. So I'll gladly take the over 4.5 here.
All right. Yeah, I like the idea of fading Giolito if that's not a little bit of foreshadowing with the pick I have. So there's a big dispute about whether we're 88 or 87 days away from NFL kickoff. And we talked about this yesterday, how the day today, like today's day, does not count. And I thought the analogy from Mark Buchholz is really good. He says, I wouldn't count today. If there was an NFL game tonight, I wouldn't say we are 1 day away, which is like a really good point. So that's why we're on 87 as opposed to 88. I'm looking for, there's so much going on in the chat. I'm looking for more 87s. Big Cheesy, Schwarber over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. It looks like he's on your play, Amags. Absolutely love that. And I know Big Cheesy's really sharp. Ninja 13 says Phillies-Cubs over 9.5. Amags, any follow-up there?
Yeah, the weather looks like it's going to be one of the best spots for hitters in Philly. Wind blowing out. It should be, I believe, above 80 degrees. So, I just think that if you're throwing that fastball as much as Ray is, especially to the lefties, but even to both sides of the plate, at some point he's got to get hit up, and some of those underlying metrics just don't look great. So, yeah, I would side with the over there.
All right. It must be football season. Before we get to you, Zach, real quick, Dave Casper, 87, Emery Moorhead, number 87,
Super Bowl
Machine
shuffle.
Muhammad, who, of course, was already brought up, number 87, Keenan McCardle. Absolutely love all of that. Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, to say the same thing as Amags, over the total on 9.5. There's been 6 straight unders in Cubs games, so I had already had that outline as a potential over today. And this Ray has seen the Phillies lineup once already this year. We saw what happened when we faced the Cincinnati Reds the second time, had his worst outing of the season. So I'm expecting.
And I would point out, watching last night's game, which went extras and it was low scoring. The Cubs hit lasers all over the yard last night, right at people. The Phillies got like 4 guys thrown out on the bases. It should have been way higher scoring on both ends. So it just seems like even if you get a little evening out and you have the weather, there's going to be a lot of runs.
Okay, we got questions about Mackenzie Gore. We'll get to Mackenzie Gore and the Nationals versus the Mets later on in the show. I do want to turn to basketball. CID says we're Gronk days away. Okay, well, yeah, that's a good one. Jake Ferguson says Christian Hastings. And I got to give a shout out to Eric David. He says Sterling Shepard. One of the few guys that has a completely injury-riddled, terrible injury history laden career and is somehow still in the NFL. And I do believe he re-upped for another year with, I think, Tampa or somebody else. So that's perseverance personified. If you don't know Sterling Shepard's injury history, I mean, these are bad injuries that he has come back from. So go look it up. That is just actually kind of inspiring. Jordy Nelson also brought up. All right, let's turn to basketball. You have a prop, Zach, but I do want you, before you get into the prop, there were a couple people in the chat that were basically like, the Pacers are cooked, which is the prevailing. It's not like, that's not breaking news, right? But
No.
I mean, where are you at here? Do you think the Pacers? I don't think you think the Pacers can win this series, but a lot of people are saying 4-1, gentleman's sweep. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. I personally think the Pacers can win one of two at home. And I think this could be a 4-2 series. Do you think it's just going to be kind of a runaway where maybe it's not a blowout every game, but OKC just wins the next three?
I had Indiana taking 2 games. I think they can get one at home. They stole one as well. That was the theme that I was expecting with the way they won in game 1. So this Thunder team is excellent, but they are young and they've been pushed before. I know we talked on this last week. Rick Carlisle, he's won an NBA title as a player and coach. Pascal Siakam as well. We've seen them be pushed by the Denver Nuggets to 7 games. I think the Pacers are deep enough. They shoot the ball well enough to win one more game in the series.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, talk to me about your prop for tomorrow night.
You know what? I went with Lou Dort over 7.5 points. It is juiced at FanDuel -130. A lot of other books do have it 8.5 over as a plus payout. Do like that as well. With Lou Dort, we saw him struggle in game 2. He had 5 fouls. It's been a theme in the playoffs when he's had 5 fouls or more, which has happened 4 times. He scored 5 points or less. And then I look at OKC, they're playing a lot of different players, but we saw 2 key players overachieve off the bench in game 2. You had Aaron Wiggins score 18 points. You had Alex Caruso match a postseason high this year with 20 points. So you certainly expect both of those players to fall off. And I looked at Lou Dort, his career against the Indiana Pacers, he has thrived. He actually has scored in double figures in 8 straight games. All 8 games he's played against the Pacers up until game 2. And 3 of those, he's exploded with 20 points or more. Actually scored 22 points in the final regular season meeting against the Pacers on March 29th, which was his second best field goal percentage game of the season, shot 73%. Looked very comfortable with those high arcing threes in game 1. So I'm expecting him to score in between that 9 to 12 point range, possibly a little bit more, but I like Lou Dort over 7.5 points in game 3.
Okay. Katie Taylor also believes the Pacers will win one at home. Just so everybody knows, I do believe the 4-2, if that's what you think is going to happen in terms of the series final, is I think like in that plus 250 type of range. Sniper, it's your Indiana Pacers. I do have to ask you, well, what do you think is going to transpire over the next week or two? It feels like it's going to be the next 2 months because people are like, why are there like a week before each game? Which is a fair question.
I think the Pacers win game 3. Game 4 then is going to be whoever wins that game is going to win the series. And it seems like everybody thinks the Thunder are going to win the series. So we'll say that that's how it goes. At least 6, probably 7 games, I think. It's interesting in game 2, after the Pacers had that 20-17 lead, they just stopped hitting shots. And I know that some of that is the OKC's great defense, but there were open looks that they missed that they usually hit. And a lot of times that OKC runs away with it, they win by 30 plus. This one ended up in the teens. So I was a bit surprised by how much of, oh, it's over now. It's over. I was a bit surprised by how much I saw of that because it's not like the Pacers lost by 30 or 40. It was in the teens. So anyway.
Yeah, Zach, go ahead.
I just think one of the things I'm seeing with Indiana that they're not taking advantage of Miles Turner enough early on because he's been killing Chet Holmgren in the second half. So we saw it in the 4th quarter of game 1 when Andrew Nembhard was just running pick and roll, killing him. 3rd quarter of game 2, Turner went off. They had to pull Holmgren off the floor 3 minutes into the 3rd quarter. So I'm not sure why they're not playing him more or using him more offensively, but maybe that's something they do in game 3 early on.
Amags, you had something too.
Real quick, I guess maybe more of a question, but I saw something online that had said, did the Pacers pulled like all their starters with multiple minutes left in the last game, and they were down 10 or 12 or something like that?
It wasn't that bad.
Game was over. It was like 2 minutes left, and
so it was over. I saw that, and they were saying, why would after all the comebacks that they've had,
it was like 15 points with 3 minutes left.
It's interesting.
All right. Fair enough. All right. We got more baseball to talk about, including home run model plays. But before we get there, how about a no sweat token for an MLB home run wager? BetMGM players will receive a no sweat token to apply to MLB home run wagers. Just add an MLB home run wager to your bet slip to activate the token. If your bet loses, you'll receive bonus bets back only at BetMGM. And just a quick reminder before we get to home run plays. Don't forget to get Yankees tickets and join us for an official Early Edge SportsLine meetup at Yankee Stadium on July 9th. Come hang out with Amags, Danny Brasco, and many others. Plus, the first 75 people to buy tickets get free early edge merch. You can scan that QR code right there in front of you. July 9th at 7:05. That's when the game is. Again, the first 75 do get early edge merch. That's going to be a great meetup. I'm going to try to make it as well. I know a lot of others from the SportsLine universe are going to try to make it. And here's some of the early edge merch. I got to get my hands on that, whether I make it to the game or not. Let's go. This is probably a good time considering that BetMGM promo. If we could put up the SportsLine home, there we go. This is Brandon Lau. I said that right, Sniper? He's
yep,
one of the
he's the one
Lau.
Everybody else is low. He's the one who's Lau.
So Lau is plus 340 per the SportsLine model, but he's plus 540 per the sports books. Wyatt Langford plus 380 versus plus 440. And then we've got value on O'Neal Cruz, exciting player, plus 315 versus plus 425. Sniper, I'll go to you first. I don't know if you had any other names in mind. Do any of these names stick out to you?
Yes. And in fact, I had Lau written down. Giolito against the Rays in Fenway Park there. Especially lefties, Brandon Lau, Jonathan Aranda, one of those two guys could work, but really any Ray, I like, when Giolito goes bad, he's home run prone. So that's a good spot there. I also wanted to look at Arizona. Rookie Lee Evans called up for the Mariners. He's gotten knocked around with home runs in a few times, just in the few times he's been up to the majors. He's a right-hander, so if you wanted to go for Corbin Carroll or Ketel Marte, the switch hitter, you could do that. Also, righties have crushed Evans as well, so Eugenio Suarez might be a good look there as well.
Hey, Mags, any home run thoughts?
So I do like the Brandon Lau one going against Giolito, but we've already talked about that. I do find it interesting you're getting like $2 of value between the real odds and what SportsLine thinks there. That is pretty good. But also, as I was looking here, so you got O'Neal Cruz against it is Alcantara today, right?
Yeah.
I believe it is, right? So MLB doesn't have him officially listed, but hey, I mean, we've been kind of fading him. So O'Neal Cruz with all that power, I actually don't dislike that one as well.
All right. I think we probably need to get to a break because we have more picks to get through. I'm going to run through my two, and then Sniper, we're going to get to yours, and then we'll close out maybe with a question or two. Let's hit a break. This is a message from our partners.
We need your sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Jason Harrod and Brian M. saying, where's the collared shirt for Sia? And I'm totally in agreement. What's going on here? I'm hosting the show. The least you could do is have a collared polo looking shirt for me to rock on the show or to rep on the show. But here we are. All right, I'm going to go with two picks. One is a bit of a preview for the early wedge tonight at 7 o'clock. It's our best bets show where we kind of crushed it last week across the board, including hitting Ryan Fox. I hit it at 50 to 1 in that without market. And then, of course, Patrick McDonald, I think, hit it at 75 to 1. We've been on a run with outrights, but the other picks have been going pretty well as well. I'm going top South Korean for the U.S. Open at plus 180. Just like I said last week when I gave you a plus 185 for top Englishman, these are half unit plays for me. The other one was top Oceania. That was Ryan Fox minus 105. That came in. That was a full unit play. The idea is here I'm trying to win something close to a full unit. So this is basically a half unit. Siwoo Kim plus 180. It's Sung Jae Im. It's Ben On. And it's somebody else that I'm forgetting in the moment. But I do think it's all four of these. Oh, it's Tom Kim. I think all four of these guys are in play, but I just like how Siwoo Kim grades out for this course. He's not super short. He's certainly not long, but he's accurate. So I think he's got a good combination of total driving. I think he's a better putter than the other three for the most part. And I just think his game is a little bit less erratic than somebody like a Ben On, than the state of Sung Jae Im, who can't hit an approach shot to save his life. And to Tom Kim, who's like simply finishing terribly or just simply not making cuts. So I'm going to take Siwoo Kim, this half unit play at plus 180. And then I'm going to be quick here because we've talked about the Rays in terms of what we think they're going to do against Giolito. I'm all about fading Giolito. He is very hot or cold, but even when he's hot, he just hasn't been that good. I'm going to take the first 5 money line with Ryan Pepio on the mound. And I'll say this, it's minus 110, by the way, over at BetMGM. I think those are the best odds you can find on this first 5. You know, the Rays bats have been coming around a little bit. Like the Red Sox, obviously it's good hitting environment for them, and they're scoring more runs than the Rays. But I've noticed the Rays starting to come around. And when I look at the pitching matchup and look what Giolito did, not just in his last start, but kind of in general, I like Ryan Pepio better here. And so I think on the road, I think we're getting a pretty good price. I think if this was Rays at home against Giolito, it would be something pretty silly from a juice standpoint. So I'll go ahead and take the -110. I'd play this up to -120 personally. All right, let's move along. I think we've had enough Rays talk, although, we've been talking about them the whole show. Sniper, can I ask you just real quick before you give out your plays? Am I pushing it with the Rays first 5 money line? Because I do think Amags total runs over for the Rays, their team total over also makes sense. So you don't have to worry about the Pepio part of this.
No, I think it's a good spot. I think it's a really good spot, and the Rays are playing really well. I do think eventually, if anybody's looking at futures, the wheels are going to fall off for the Rays, because the way that the schedule was made this year, they have so many home games early in the season. And that means they have so many road games in the middle of the year, stacked in the middle of the year, because of playing outside in Tampa and it's so hot there. They have stretches of 16 out of 19 games on the road. And then after that, 19 out of 22 games on the road. That's just in July and August. So they're probably going to get crushed in July and August when they have all those road trips. But for now, yeah, I'm all about going with them. Am I up now?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, let's go.
Well.
Yep.
So riding the hot hand a little bit here, but also he's a great player, so I don't mind riding the hot hand. It's Jose Ramirez. In his last 30 games, he only has one game where he didn't have a hit. That's how ridiculously hot he's been right now. It's 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. There's juice on that. I was hoping to see 2.5 at plus money. Maybe it will change that way later in the day if you want to wait and hold off for that, or if you want to attack him in a different way. The basic gist here is we want to play Jose Ramirez, because in those last 30 games, he's hitting 400 with a 667 slugging, 48 hits, 27 runs, 17 RBIs. That's 92 on this prop in the last 30 games. He's killing lefties all year, 413 average against left-handed pitchers. Andrew Abbott on the mound for the Reds. He is a lefty. He got knocked around last time out. Love Jose Ramirez in this one. Any which way you want to play him. Also, speaking of somebody who's hot, and I wanted the over 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs, we got it here at plus money with Ronald Acuna Jr. in Milwaukee. He hit a home run again last night. The Braves offense has been pretty bad for most of the year, but they do have firepower. They exploded for 7 runs last night. Acuna's been great ever since he came back from that torn ACL. They slow played him this time, and it worked. Hitting 305 with a 406 on base, 593 slugging in 16 games. He has 18 hits, 12 runs, and 8 RBIs. So he's been a machine on this prop. Quinn Priester on the mound for the Brewers, not very good, prone to giving up the big inning. I think we might hit this one in the first. I could see a leadoff bomb from Acuna or something like a double, and then maybe he gets there later. But I'm kind of feeling like he might hit a home run in the first and get us home right away.
All right. And by the way, I am checking my number, and I apologize for doing this. I'm checking my number right now because I thought I looked at BetMGM when I put out my top South Korean play. So I'm going to double check it because I might have the wrong number here. It might be a much better number. So as I check that, Zach, can I ask you, because obviously you cover baseball, you just happen to have an NBA pick today. Was there anything we talked about, whether it was home runs or any of the game picks or anything we haven't talked about that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, just on the home run graphic, I was going to say low as well with the Rays. You know, I like to ride the hot teams. We saw all the runs yesterday. They're 15-4 over their last 19 games, so I do like that as well. And for the Blue Jays lineup, they're 10-2 over their last 12 games, I believe, something in that fashion. Vlad Guerrero Jr., I also like him as well. He had a double late against St. Louis. And Miles Mikolas, he's been touched up his last 2 starts. I think 17 hits over his last 2 starts.
Yeah, I apologize too. Thank you for Zach. You just bought me some time. I simply put the wrong number there. So hopefully you guys are, if we don't mind, can we change that to plus 225? Because that's what I'm going to have on the early wedge tonight. Top South Korean, Siwoo Kim. That was just a clerical error on my part because I thought I was looking at the BetMGM number and I clearly wasn't. So the Siwoo Kim top South Korean is plus 225. That is a much better number. Sung Jae Im at BetMGM is tied with Siwoo Kim at plus 225. And then we've got Ben On at plus 300 and Tom Kim at plus 350. So again, top South Korean, it's only a half a unit play. Siwoo Kim at plus 225. One quick thought before we get to the recap screen. I did want to ask about Mackenzie Gore, because there was a strikeouts question, and Amags, I'm going to go to you here. But I'm also just curious what you think is going to happen in this game, because the Mets are pretty heavy favorites. I was thinking about the first 5 playing Mackenzie Gore actually at like even money plus 105. I'm not saying that's something I'm recommending, but any thoughts on that game in general, Amags?
Gore is one of my favorite guys to bet for strikeouts. When I was looking at the numbers here, there actually does seem to be some value on him to the over. So if you like that one, just numbers wise, it does work out that way. A lot of times, though, when I look at these, like the Mets are a great team. He doesn't, in my opinion, have a super strong. I think it was at 17.5, but I don't think he has a strong chance to finish that. So as you kind of go through those, you start to maybe find some pieces that I think maybe are a little bit less in the projections than maybe I would personally bump them up a little bit. So while there's some value, I think I'll just pass on the strikeouts one. But the note on Gore is that like he hunts strikeouts every game. That's his deal. So whether it's the Mets, whether it's any other team, like he's going to get his strikeouts most times. It's just a matter of whether that number the book set is too high.
Fair enough. Sniper, your thoughts?
And the Mets are really good at avoiding strikeouts. So it could be a nice little strength against strength matchup, but the Mets are one of the toughest teams in baseball to strike out. I agree with Amags there. Also, somebody asked about an Andrew Abbott bounce back against the Guardians. Abbott had been amazing, and then last time out, he got crushed by the Brewers at home. It seems like a good spot for him. The Guardians offense is not that great. They're not that great against left-handers. I like Jose Ramirez to get to him, but I could see him holding the Guardians down, generally speaking, as well. Something like 6 innings, only 1 or 2 runs allowed.
Really quick on that one. So I bet Andrew Abbott over 4.5 strikeouts last time he faced this team. And I wouldn't be opposed to doing it again, but there's a couple of things I at least want to caution you with. One, that number has been coming back. I think it was near minus 150, minus 160 earlier for the 5th strikeout. It's now around minus 130. But secondly, the umpire here, Todd Tichenor, he profiles as an extremely hitter-friendly umpire. And a guy like Andrew Abbott, where, to get that 5th strikeout, sometimes he's relying upon a couple of extra called strikes that go his way. And if he doesn't get those tonight, all of a sudden you get hooked at, 4 strikeouts or something like that. So he shouldn't have luck on his side. One guy I do think will have luck on his side tonight, back at home, Brandon Fought, however you want to say his name. I do think I'm going to play the over 4.5 strikeouts for him against Seattle.
All right. I love it. By the way, this is the type of discussion we're going to have for about at least an hour and a half tomorrow during the MLB live show. It'll be, it's usually Zach as well, but it's going to be these 2 guys, Tom Casale and Mike McClure. That's just going to be, we're going to be literally live betting 4 to 5 games that are going to be going at the same time. But it's this type of discussion that happens in between the bets. There's just a lot that I can learn, that so many of you can learn through these guys. By the way, Buckets has a home run pick. So this show is going super long. I guess I kind of apologize. I think it's great. We're going to get to the recap screen in 45 seconds. But Sniper, your response to Buckets rolling the dice and it landing on JT Realmuto home run, he says it's plus 450 and that he either plays for the Cubs or the Phillies. He's not sure.
That's true. Buckets is right about that. He definitely plays for one of those 2 teams. He doesn't have near the power that he used to, but if we're expecting the ball to be flying, it's not a horrible pick, especially at plus 450.
Mags or Zach, you want to weigh in on JT Realmuto? No?
If it's in the Phillies game, I do like it, man. It looks like that Phillies game is going to be one of the best, if not the best, for hitters today. So, hey, JT, he's on my fantasy team, so I will definitely take a home run.
All right. Well, Buckets is in the chat. Thank you for being in here. Thanks for Buckets has hit a few in a row, I think, on the early edge as well in soccer. Liddy says, Amags Sniper, you going to be there for a live B-ball tomorrow? Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. Those 2 will be there along with, again, Tom Casale and Mike McClure and myself. All right. We do have to end the show at some point. Okay, so let's finally get to the recap screen. And I do want to thank everybody for correcting me on the top South Korean number. The best number is at BetMGM, and it's Siwoo Kim plus 225. Top South Korean. That's a 4-person race there. It's a half-unit play for me. Rays first 5 money line minus 110 is another play for me. Kyle Schwarber over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs minus 142 from Amags, and he also has Rays team total over 4.5 runs at minus 120. Then Zack Cimini tomorrow night. Lou Dort over 7.5 points at minus 130. Back to baseball with the Sniper tonight. Jose Ramirez over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs at minus 155, and Ronald Acuna Jr. over 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs at plus 110. No SportsLine pick today, but if you want to go to SportsLine, there's plenty more baseball picks you can investigate along with NBA and so many other sports. SportsLine.com/join. If you type in the promo code winners, you get 60% off the annual plan. Sniper, Amags, Zach, what a show. Sorry I kept you all much longer than I normally do. A big thank you to Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. Don't forget about the betting show, U.S. Open betting show tonight at 7 o'clock with me and Jason Sobel and Patrick McDonald and Eric Cohen. And then, of course, tomorrow we have our early edge show at 10, and then we have the live MLB betting show. It's our third of the season, starting at 12:55 tomorrow afternoon. Thanks for being in here. I see Danny Brasco in here. Paul L. is in here. Again, KC3, Craig Bernard, Rick Funcannon, Jeff Stenberg, CLE fan, Blue Cat 59. Thanks, everybody, for being in here. Let's have a great day. We'll see you soon on the Early Edge. We rest our case.